Brian Brown, Brian Dennehy, Diane Venora, Jerry Orbach, who would go on to great Law and Order fame, 1986, FX. There's something very dated about the movie FX, particularly now. 1986, special effects or practical effects being what they were, we were all mesmerized by the ability of people in the movies to do incredible stuff. Now, that's not to say that computer graphic imaging, that all of this sort of animation isn't important stuff, and I mean, obviously requires a phenomenal skill set. But there's just something missing, lacking. There's something different that will never be quite the same as old-fashioned effects of ripping off a latex face that is gashed and blood gushing out of it to reveal that it was just a fake layer of skin. Hence, this is the purpose, the motif of the movie FX. Brian Brown plays a special effects expert in the movies who is so good at what he does, he is recruited by the government, by, law enforcement, the Justice Department, to help pull off a fake assassination. In order to hide Jerry Orbach's character, who is a guy who has turned state's witness against the mafia, the witness relocation program, something that was relatively new to be talked about in cinema at that time. In order to hide him, they decide to fake his death so that the mafia believes that he is dead. Therefore, they recruit and coax our special effects expert into helping to do this. And everything goes horribly wrong. Ultimately, they recruit him to be the trigger man himself. They tamper with the gun, and they leave a whole lot of unanswered questions. He guns down Jerry Orbach, who is then pronounced dead, and then the manhunt is on. Except that the mafia turncoat is still alive and has made his own plans to fake his death and escape and get out of the country. It's an interesting tale that weaves together the what if. You think you know what's going on, and then the reversal, and then the reversal again. Brian Dennehy is an interesting actor. He has a certain charisma and magnetism about him. He might have been more of a leading man in his time, but he's, what's the word? He's a very stocky individual. That's not to say that he's heavy. He's not. He's very stocky. And he does really well then in roles like in FX where he's a cop. He does well being a cop or a private investigator or military or something, because despite his sly smile and his ability to be a con man type figure and a little bit of a charlatan, especially in getting his way with women as he does in FX, he still physically carries this sense of intimidation that he's not going to be a Shakespearean actor, and he's not going to play Othello. He was fabulous in the movie Cocoon, and one of the saddest parts about the sequel is that he only had a brief cameo in the sequel to Cocoon, but that was another review at another time. So undertaking the unfolding, the plot, the scam, the scheme of FX, Brian Brown goes on the run, goes to see his wife, his lover, Diane Venora, who also ends up dead, and bodies keep accumulating as they're trying to eliminate him. And he's not exactly sure, is this an old-fashioned, everyone knows the rule, you eliminate the assassin when you plan an assassination. You don't leave loose ends. Was he the perfect assassin? Did he actually murder Jerry Orbach's character? Was it a setup to get him to do the dirty deed? No, finally discovering that Orbach's character is alive, but trying to piece together why he was framed, why he was set up, why it had to be him. It had to be believable to the world and to the other crime bosses so that Orbach could escape. In the end, it all comes out, and everything that comes together. Brian Dennehy, who is a police officer who helped bust the crime family, who is conversely not real happy that Orbach's character has been given amnesty in return for his testimony, but he's also not happy when he appears to be dead, and that testimony also evaporates. Piecing together the long trail of dirty and corrupt cops that are in on this, on the take, collecting money from Orbach's character in order to help him fake his death and hide himself into the future. Finally, it comes to a head and everybody gets what is theirs. Ultimately, FX is a fun movie, but as I said at the beginning, it's a pretty dated movie. It doesn't capture the same sort of oohs and ahs that it did when the real shtick, the thing that separates it from other sort of crime stories at the time, was this use of special effects within the movie, that our protagonist uses various effects and his knowledge of things that go boom or make smoke, or in an almost MacGyver type way, his vast knowledge of this helps them to unfold the plot and capture the bad guys. And he pulls several switcheroos at the end, which are kind of neat. But it all depends on what gives it that uniqueness for the movie FX. What it hinges on is that those special effects that he uses in the movie are awe-inspiring. They're enough to make you go, oh, that was that. Oh, wow, that wasn't really that. And it ties in nicely, which dates it very well to 1986. Although I liked it enough that I did watch the sequel. Actually, I was in high school, and confess, I saw the sequel before I saw the first one, so maybe I'll review that soon. FX.